Good evening, everybody. No? There we go. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I do need to ask that the people in the back make sure that there is a clear path all the way through so that the exit can be accessed. So, um, and there's another exit. So there's two exits from this room. Those two in the back of the door. That one goes directly outside. That one goes the way you came in and out to the foyer. This is not an exit. So in the event that we have to evacuate, don't go that way. If you would like to speak tonight during the public comment period, please sign up so that we can have an orderly, hopefully, comment period. There's a sign-up sheet there to comment during the public comment period. The first item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing on the Mountain View Clifton Park Water Authority District expansion. Mountain View is a development on East Line Road, a housing development that is a 120-acre development that includes 60 acres, almost 60 acres of conservation easement. The conservation easement is right on the road, and then the housing development is down sort of behind there. So it preserves the view shed of the mountains on East Line Road. Does anybody here interested in speaking on the extension? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tom McDermott. I live on Avondale Drive, right here in Malta. This is the second time I've spoke at a public hearing relating to this matter. Previously, I think it was at the June 5th meeting, we took a vote and it was declined. Here we are again. It's not clear to me as to why we're back, but here we are, so we'll do it again. And perhaps we'll all be heard at this point in time. In support of the public hearing, the town put up on this website a number of items. There was a petition for expansion, Exhibit A, B, and C. They included maps. They included agreements signed between the property owner and the Clifton Park Water Authority. I'd like to go through them briefly and then get into the meat of this. Initially, there's a petition for expansion, and that petition includes more than just the Avondale property. Not the Avondale property, the Mountain View property. It includes the entire entity of the farm. There's a survey in there that gets survey points, and it's inclusive of all the survey points north, south, and east, west of the property. It's inclusive of all the remaining lands beyond the Mountain View development. It also states that the conservation agreement is conditionally approved. I'm not sure if that's correct. It's been approved by the board, but I'm not sure if it's conditionally or in its entirety. I would presume conditionally means once all the approvals are in the bank for the developer and so forth. It also states that the sole water authority is in Clifton Park. The project description only talks about water supply to the Mountain View future residents. It talks about this development having 7.7 acres of wetlands. The soils in the description are described as somewhat poorly drained. The topography, and this is important, the topography as stated in the data states that there's a 60-foot slope from the bottom of the property to east line, from northeast to southwest. There's other required evaluations of alternatives. One curious thing in the proposal, it talks about what the water load would be, and it's predicated on 2.5 residents per dwelling. You know, the 2.5 thing is kind of funny, but for every 2 residents, there's a home with 3 residents. So consequently, I'm not sure whether it's adequate. Doesn't sound like a lot of people in a development for 119 homes. I'd like to transition a little bit to the conservation agreement and our opportunity here. When the town ventured into buying Saratoga Water Authority, one of the key positive attributes of owning that, it was told by our prior town supervisor, was that we can control development if we control water. These circumstances are posed right now to us tonight. We can control development on East Line if we control water. Consequently, if we decline again, like we did back in May, we can step forward and control development of that corridor on East Line. This is just the first of it. So here's the deal. Here's the give and take. The town gives up a 10% density bonus. The planning board agreed to give the developer an extra 10% of homes in that development. There's also, in the engineering detail, there's town concessions for road radiuses. Simply stated, the road radius means the curvature of the road. We have code that says there should be a consistent, even slope. They've given the developer, in this instance, tighter terms to squeeze more homes into a smaller area. The problem with this is the safety situation. 2 problems. Safety is number 1. Number 2 is the plowing of roads and the maintenance of the roads. Our town highway superintendent has spoke out on this, and it's very clear the difficulty this poses is dramatic. The town's also going to provide emergency access to the property. There's also some other engineering concessions to road grades. I'm not sure how that works. It's beyond my capacity to understand it. And there's other concessions that, these concessions we kind of stumbled over. We didn't FOIA all the information. These are the things that we garnered from the variety of different meetings we've been to. And out of this, the township gets open space, okay? It gets an agricultural promise. It gets an opportunity to look over in the mountains, over in the Berkshires. What the town gets really doesn't match up to what the town gives. In the conservation agreement, there is nothing that requires the future owners of this property to farm that property. Anything can become that property. There's restrictions on building. There's a back door out of that, but clearly there's no obligation for the future owners or the current owners to farm this property. Secondly, the view shed that's so important on this deal, there's no assurances that trees won't grow or wildlife, or there won't be an imposition on what we can see across. And clearly right now, we can look across that meadow and 1 row of corn is going to block that view. We can't expect the future owners to maintain it. Shortcomings of Mountain View. There's really no open space for anybody to enjoy. When the DO says open space, yes, the open space, it's over there. And who knows how it's going to be maintained. Within this respective development, there's no park, there's no playground, there's no gazebo, there's no place for people to meet and congregate. The houses are all squashed together. The streets are narrow and have bad sight lines. There's the drainage concerns. In some of the data, they said the water table was 3 feet below grade, 3 feet below grade. You dig a foundation, you'll find water. This thing's it's gonna disturb wetlands. There's 7 acres of wetlands here that are going to be disturbed, notwithstanding the permits that are going to be gotten from the state. There's no walking trails. The concern for Miller Road is well-founded. There is increased traffic in that direction. And most importantly, this is a precedent that will be set for further development on the east side of East Line. Currently, the town of Boston has apartments, townhouses, and large homes on the west side of East Line. This is going to have the town of Malta join in the problem. Also, as I said before, from back to front of this property, there's 60 feet. And as I said, a row of corner will obscure the view. My house is an average house, a colonial. It's 35 feet high. So once that framing begins on that development, we'll see how good the view shed is. I have some handouts, some maps I'd like to share. Would you like me to pass these out? Yeah, would you like? Okay, thank you. I just grab one for me, please. I know people, initially, there's 2 pages from the working draft of the conservation agreement. The linchpin in this agreement is the purpose. The purpose is twofold again, to preserve agricultural land and to maintain the view shed. Both instances, this agreement does not make that possible. It could be possible, but it doesn't require it. There's nothing in this agricultural agreement that says that the landowner has to provide for the view or even farm the property. Page 2, number 21 at the bottom, talks a little bit what it takes to get out of this agreement. And simply stated, it takes the grantor and the grantee to go to a court and say things have changed. Things have changed to the degree that no longer is this conservation easement appropriate. Things can happen. Things happen like the view is gone. There's commercial development across the street. There's more residential construction elsewhere. Perpetuity is a long time. And with this backdoor clause, it's those homes that are going to be developed there and built there could be there a lot longer than this agreement covers. Perpetuity is in the homes, not so much in that. These maps, I'll be brief with this. The maps, I'm sorry the public doesn't have it, but the first map is just an overview of what it's going to look like on the farmland. The top of the map is East Line. The bottom is the Avondale development. You can see it takes about half of the acreage. The next step is key. The farmstead area and the farm area are shown on this exhibit. The farmstead area is triple, in this agreement, triple what it currently is. And the farm area on the right is limited. After this whole thing is done, there's going to be a tiny strip of agriculture, hardly enough to sustain economies of scale for a farm. The next page demonstrates the current, and I've just lined the current footprint and the future footprint. And you can see that the requested farmstead area is triple of what it was previously. Why would they want to triple the footprint of the homestead in the farm area when they're farming only probably a third or less of what was previously farmed. Next page is a product of me. It's not in the package, it's not in the agreement, and what it simply does is it takes the homes in Avondale and superimposes it over the Homestead area, just to give you an idea of what the possible development could be done within the guise of this agreement. Finally, the last one I'll get to, but just let me finish up here. In conclusion, we've already voted on this. In the spirit of transparency, which many of your board members ran on, the general public doesn't quite know why we're back. We've already voted on it, we've declined it, we've had a public hearing, we were told that the developer petitioned the town to do it all over again. What does that exactly mean? Does that mean if it's declined again, we'll be back again for another public hearing? Or is this it? And why does the developer have two bites at the apple, have an opportunity to repetition when the people that are against this only have one single voice? So I'm appealing to the board to step up and stay the course and don't be led by what the planning board has provided to us and the town. This is not in the interest of the town. It's dense housing, and it's not consistent with our comprehensive plan, nor is it consistent with the comprehensive plan that was in place when the Avondale development was built. So step up, let's be counted, stay the course, and please vote to decline this. Finally, in the package is an email from the Director of Water of the Town of Boston. And the contention is, if you want to take the time to read it, is that the Clifton Park Water Authority doesn't have 100% jurisdiction over the water line under East Line. This states that our town supervisor and town attorney has been involved in discussions. Not sure what those discussions were, but again, the general public needs to know we're here to listen, and we demand transparency. That's all I have to say. And thanks, everybody, for your patience. I know we're all busy and there's other matters we want to discuss, but thank you, board.
Thanks, Tom. Is anybody else here to speak on?
Not much of a public speaker. And Tom, Jim Thoman, Avondale. Tom, that was comprehensive, so I'm not going to get into too many details. But again, the view shed being the issue for the agricultural easement, I would prefer people pay attention to driving down East Line rather than looking across a field. I understand that you don't want to see buildings too close to the road, but again, I reject the notion that was brought up in a previous meeting that there hasn't been anybody to speak up publicly against this development. Every time there's been an opportunity for people to speak, people have spoken against this. Tom, every single time, and a couple of other people from Avondale have spoken up as well. The issue I see is, for me personally, I'm not against development. I just want to make sure Malta does not turn into Clifton Park. We have an infrastructure here that does not support what people are thinking about doing in the future, whether it's Saratoga Raceway or on even Route 9. We have to think about traffic. Miller Road residents have been here for months talking about traffic. And just so we can slap our names on something that I was there when somebody approved this is not a reason to approve something. And we want to do things the right way, and not to say no, but to say, okay, I will if you do this. If Mountain View Estates was going in as a a development more like Avondale, I don't think people would be, I wouldn't be against it. I can't speak for other people. But we see things like Timber Creek where you have houses that are just right on top of each other, and it looks like a puzzle. You got different colored houses, but there's no lawns in between them. This development is going to dump 118 homes in the back of a field. And if the purpose is not to use Avondale's resources, which by the way are not taxpayer provided, they're provided for by the Avondale residents. It's an HOA. Why is the access road and the sidewalks going in there? Why are the sidewalks, from what I've been hearing, a extension of Surrey Road? So that means that Avondale residents now have to take on the cost of making sure that those sidewalks are plowed, going into a development that we're not for. And if that's not the purpose, how come these houses have no amenities? There's no park, there's no trails. Of course they're going to use Avondale's. And yes, I'm selfish because I'm paying for them. If I lived right next to Shenantaha and there was a development going next to Shenantaha and they were making an access road into that park, we all pay for that. I don't care. But only the Avondale residents pay for that park and pay for those trails. And just to say, well, if I can use it, I can't just randomly walk into my neighbor's backyard and use his pool because he pays for it. So that's what the contention is. And to my Miller Road residents, having that access road to go back on it when it's now been proposed to be egress only or emergency access only, to then that is not going to alleviate those traffic concerns. It's only going to put the risk of kids on the side streets in Avondale, which those side streets are not meant for the amount of new tenants that would be in those houses. Those streets are not wide enough for that. And even though there's sidewalks, and again, Miller Road residents, you guys are about 50 feet to 60 feet off the road. I mean, these kids are right next to the sidewalks. So the increase in traffic is going to cause an increase in risk in kids getting hit in our development. So I guess that I had almost everything Tom had, but he pretty much nailed everything. I just want to see this development. I don't want necessarily to be against the water. If the development's going in as it is now, yes, I'm against it. If the development was more spread out, and again, I understand, I have nothing to fault the property owner or the developer. They're trying to get the biggest bang for their buck. But at the cost of the way they're doing it is definitely subterfuge. This is not out in the open. And we've been asking for months now for planning board meetings to be online just like these are. The planning board, these are appointed officials. Nobody really knows who these people are. You guys appoint them, I understand that. But they kind of like push through a lot of stuff. Just say, sure, no problem, sure, no problem, sure, no problem, because they might not live where something's being built. So, this, yes, has Mountain View Estates been approved as far along as it's gone? Yes. But now it's getting to the point where the rubber's hitting the road and people are realizing, what, this was approved when? I don't think Avondale residents, a lot of them don't understand, because they'd be shocked that a development is being put right next to their house and they can use all your stuff. They wouldn't even fathom it. That's why I've been trying to explain to people and get them here. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Again, I'm not against the development going in there. We all kind of knew it was going to happen eventually. And if it was more spread out and more like Malta, the intention of Malta of 10 years ago, I think people would probably be okay with it. But you slamming 118 houses in the back of a field just so we can put an agricultural easement on the metals of Malta, it's not a good idea. So anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to comment on the Clifton Park Water Authority extension?
My name is David Kruszelnicki. I live on Sienna Drive, also in the Avondale neighborhood. In respect to everyone's time, I'm not going to go through everything that we've heard in terms of objections or concerns about this project, except to express one citizen's viewpoint that I've thought about this a great deal, read a great deal about it. I think it's a severe mistake. I think it's an error for all of the flags that you've heard about this evening and in previous discussions. There's enough yellow flags that have popped up that after a while becomes evident that, whoa, wait a minute, maybe this isn't the right thing. From density to water concerns, I'd like to underscore one in particular, which is the traffic concerns. I've, like many of us in the room, I suspect have had numerous opportunities to wait 5, 10, 15 minutes or more at the intersection of East Line and Route 67. And that's just, a function of growth and development and population and so on and so forth. One doesn't need a fancy crystal ball to see that the intersection of Round Lake Road and East Line Road is fast becoming the very same phenomenon. So I think this project is a good opportunity for the town to step back and say, well, wait a minute, density, water, the fact that the easement is not in perpetuity, that could change who knows when, just like that. And if that, as Tom said, the linchpin of the whole thing, all of a sudden what we have is a dense, water questionable, supported development that's going to further exacerbate traffic in that region of the community. So I would respectfully express my objection to the project due to the numerous yellow flags that have popped up and been identified through the due diligence process here. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else want to comment on the Clifton Park Water Authority extension, water line extension? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then at 6:25. And we will move on to the next item in our agenda, which is a presentation by the LA Group.
Good evening. Matt Robson with the LA Group. I'm going to be presenting today about a zoning modification to the GC3 district within the town code. So when opening the code for the town of Malta, this is the GC3's description. Intended for large buildings with setbacks, numerous generous landscapes between the roadway and adjacent developments to encourage continuous green corridor along the street edge. What I'm here talking about today, this is the zone that is within the GC3 district.
So Matt, if you can just kind of identify where exactly that is.
This is part of the form-based code within the town. It's the downtown district. It's the last zone within the district before going into the general district of the rest of the town. So the parcel I've highlighted, I got two screens here. The parcel I've highlighted is the parcel for the owners of which I represent today. And what you'll see is this is Route 9 that comes up through the middle and down all the way to the bottom. This is your main downtown area. We're in this area right in here today. And to the north, there's another development here, and then there's a drainage ditch in this area that you're probably familiar with, kind of scoops down while driving north on Route 9. What we are proposing in this area is to extend a townhome development in the areas 500 feet beyond the front road or the front setback of the property. So we're trying to maintain that green character, that green corridor with the commercial buildings on the front, the same thing the district is looking for. But we're asking to include townhomes after a 500-foot to the rear. This would align with the adjacent neighborhoods, which I'll show in a different slide, where there's residential neighborhoods that are set further back off of Route 9. It would also maintain that same corridor in the front 500 feet, which would include commercial structures and the green space that was in the description. It would have to change in 3 locations, which I've tried to set out here, and this has been reviewed with the planning department. One of the things that we've also heard during discussions with the planning department was the change to the parking setbacks when dealing with a townhome building description, mainly allowing for front-loaded access points to these houses, so you can have a garage on the front rather than entering from the rear. It has been something that there has been variances for in the past, and it would help to bring some of these non-conforming structures into conformance. So that's something that we're proposing as part of this amendment. What I'm going to show you is, this is the parcel that I do represent the owners for. This is the vacant parcel across the street from Coca's Motel. And what you'll see is this first 500 feet of this parcel would be maintaining that same character that's there now. There is a demand for commercial space in the front corridor, along with parking that's set behind the building, so it's out of the site, along with a standard right-of-way that would come in through the town. It would be a town right-of-way entering in. And then to the rear, you would see commercial, or the residential townhomes. To the rear, you also see this aligns with the parcels to the north and to the rear, which are residential in nature. This is not a site plan presentation. This is something that could happen here. The densities are all something that would have to be discussed. What you're seeing is a 16,000 square foot building in the front, the commercial, along with the parking that it would be required for that. And then, so this is just to get those uses approved, or to get the rear uses changed and to allow in the rear of the parcel. In the zoning code, it would state that these uses were only allowed after the first 500 feet. And when we look back at the overall map of the town and of the downtown district and the GC3 areas, you see that this is relatively the 500-foot setback here. In this area, my hand's shaking immensely, but that's the way it is. And then really, there's only a couple parcels that would impact. There's this parcel to the north, and there's another parcel to the rear here and on the south. Those are the parcels that would have enough depth to accommodate this townhome use within this zone. So I think that is all I have for my presentation.
So just, if I may, I'm going to try to explain a little bit to everybody out there that we say form-based code a lot, and I know that's weird. What form-based code is it's the zoning that is in place in what we've identified as our downtown district. Right now, this particular zone, as GC3, does not allow residential usage at all. They're proposing that we allow residential uses 500 feet off the road. And the rear load garage basically means less pavement. If you have, or for front load garages, if you have rear load garages, you got to have another alley and everything. So it actually makes 2 more roads. And there are only a couple of projects a couple of parcels that this change would impact. Matt, is there do you have a project proposal before you?
At this time, no. We're just trying to get the parcel set up for future investors to kind of be able to develop this parcel. It's sat underutilized for quite some time, and they're trying to get somebody to come in here and take it up and move this forward. The last project that was in here did not move forward, but it was a completely different use. This is a residential use back 500 feet that we're asking for. Right now, commercial development is appropriate, and it is completely zoned for commercial development. Just larger scale commercial developments on this size parcel hasn't been successful, and they've been marketing to that effect for the number of years.
So just so my colleagues and everybody else understands, this basically represents a zoning change, adding use to a district. So it's something that this town board would have to act on. I don't know how my board members feel, if they think it has legs, or if you want to ponder on it a bit or discuss it with planning.
I would like to slow down all the development in this town. I want to wait till the generic environmental impact statement comes back and we sit down and figure out development's coming. We know that. We'll sit down and figure out what we want this town to look like in the future. Put in some safeguards, put in some stopgaps, keep the character and aesthetics of Malta, the very reason why everybody came here to live. We want to maintain that.
I'm kind of in favor of what Matt said, of pumping the brakes a little bit. Close proximity to the raceway is probably less than a quarter mile, and they want to put a couple hundred units in there too. So it looks good standing alone, but all cumulatively, it's going to be pretty dense.
I would like to slow it down. I was involved in the town shortly after the form base happened. We spent a lot of money on it, and we hired some big contractors to help us out on that. This was a major step for our town. And to all of a sudden rip it apart, I'm like, oh, we don't like this today, or there's things that I don't like about it. But once we dive into it and start changing it, we got trouble, because there's always going to be somebody that opposes it. And I have learned that in 8 years. No matter what you do here, you will always find somebody that opposes everything. That's very clear. So I definitely want to slow everything down. Development's getting out of hand. It's getting crazy. We got to take a step back. And if we don't, the town board here can take measures to stop development tomorrow and slow it down. And if we have to do it, we're gonna do it. That's just my thought. I didn't hear any clapping. I didn't want any clapping. But thank you for stepping forward and trying to help out a certain group to solve some major problems.
And Matt, thank you for the presentation. We know development's going to come. We know there's going to be some commercial and residential, and we need to sit down and figure out what we want that to look like. How much apartments do we want per ratio to how many houses are in Malta? We're absolutely going to be discussing your project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Okay, if everyone will stand for the salute to the flag and a silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Next is correspondence. We did get several correspondences from residents, mostly related to the easement that we will be acting on later.
Cynthia, you want to approve the minutes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Minutes.
Oh, the minutes. So we need to accept town clerk minutes from our June 3rd and our June 10th special meeting.
So forward.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So then correspondence, I'm not going to go through them all. There were some for and some against. Some families split their votes on whether they were for or against us, the easement, but that'll be discussed later. So the next item, of course, is comments from town residents. I just want to make a brief statement that the possible sale of the Speedway is a transaction between two private entities. The town of Malta isn't trying to push the Speedway out. I've said many times, it's a landmark, actually. It's the decision of the owner of the property to sell. To date, we have not met with a development group that wants to development or seen any specific plan. We basically have seen what you've seen on the news. We likely will have a workshop sometime in the future that will be advertised. You'll all know when it's in. You're all welcome to come. So there's no specific proposal at this point. The project is a very long way from a reality. And this board has the final say as to whether or not we want to rezone that property. We want to hear from you, but please keep in mind that the possible sale of the property is in the hands of the owner, not the town of Malta. Can somebody give me the list, the sign-in list? Please. So please keep your comments brief and try not to repeat what others have said.
Before we start, though, you just said we didn't see a plan. I thought last meeting we saw a plan and a depiction on the screen.
Well, it was
Something.
it was a
To
rendering.
say we didn't see anything is not accurate. Because I think we have a lot of attendance here because what was shown and what we didn't know. So to say that this is kind of new, you're all here for the first time because you didn't know anything, I think it's a little misleading.
Well, we've seen what the press has shown us and what they had here. This is the sign-in.
We
sheet.
saw what was here, not what the press said.
This is it? There's not another page? Okay, the first one, it's Andrew Drainer, maybe? The first person on my list, 345 East High Street? No, bailed out?
Is he in the hallway at all, or? I'm right here. Oh.
Okay. 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 I knew there had to be more of you out there that wanted to talk. Thank you. Okay, well, the first person on my list is Nancy D'Onofrio. Is that on, Nancy?
Oh, sorry, thank you. 54 Wineberry. We have worked tirelessly for over a year to get the attention of New York State Police. And now it's all in the rearview mirror. A few people have received letters that have defined, this has been going on since 2018, we have no say, we no longer have any ability to turn back time, which is really where we're at. I want to say that we've been bullied and forced to make this decision on this easement. The threat to take extra 1,000 trees down or hundreds of trees, how many trees, we can count them when they're cut, would impair Fox Wander West, right? So we know that we want to go with the easement. If we were to approve an easement, that's only going to affect the sidewalk. But I want to keep something in the forefront here. State Police has not been transparent. They have not given us any opportunity to ever speak to them. We're kind of vicariously speaking through our town attorney and previous boards from 2018 to 2021, when the final Attorney General to the town lawyer contract was signed. In that contract, there is a clause that says that land is eternally owned by New York State. Yet in the contract submitted by Malta said if the land was not used for New York State Police, it would revert back to the town of Malta. We were poorly represented. I blame nobody but ourselves for not being aware. We are aware now. So the awareness now is to keep in the forefront that there is a frequency tower and there is a perfect spot for that frequency tower to set in that particular site plan. We are going to fight that. And we need to let you know that that message needs to be sent from the town board that they don't want that in the local neighborhood before the state police, OGS, presents that as an option. The minute they sneak something else through, we're going to be back in the same place we were before. OGS should not be allowed to put the frequency tower there, ever. So I don't care where it goes, and I don't care if Bruce Tansky sells them that piece of land, but we will be back here fighting again over each meeting if that frequency tower goes in that parcel. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, I have a Jeff Shealy. I'm not a resident, so I'm just going to listen. Okay. Kathleen Baines? I'm the attorney for Mountain View. I will serve my comment. Okay. Denise and Kim Duell?
I'm not a resident either, but we're speaking on behalf of.
Oh, so it's Dennis. No, Denise. Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm Denise Duell, this is Kim. Most of you all know who we are. Thank you, Supervisor, for letting us speak. Thank you, Town Board. Malta Speedway, Albany, Saratoga, has been home to us. He's raced since he was 15 years old. He's still racing today. Well, not today, but Friday night he did. Malta is home to us. We raised our kids there, and I understand that there's a sale to be done. You can't stop the owner from selling the property. But what you can do is stop it from becoming a development. This is where families go, affordably. This is where we've raised our kids race. It's a family-orientated place where you meet people, friendly people. We have the best friends who have become family that we have met there. Also, some of the stuff that, I don't know, Supervisor, if you're aware of what the Speedway has offered this community. We have done fundraisers. They offer, Malta Ridge does volunteer and training there. We honor the military families at the Speedway yearly, the Gold Star families. And I have stood next to Marcy year after year after year. I have worked there as well as participated for 35 years. People use the front for dogs, and I could go on and on and on. I don't want to. Everyone here knows the Speedway is home and has history here for 60 years, and it's enrooted in each and every one of us. And I hope that you find, not that we want to, you can't stop the sale, but you can stop it from becoming a development. 750 units. The residents talk about, complain one night a year or one night a week of dust and dirt. You've got 20 weeks out of 52. One night a week, one night out of 7.
6 hours.
For 5 to 6 hours. Sometimes, yes, it goes over, can't control weather. But, you know, you get a development going in there, folks, you're gonna get it 7 days a week. All day, all night.
Malta brings family, not rough drug addicts. They're gonna be there, and people aren't gonna be happy.
Okay, let's try to keep it organized. If you want to speak, sir, you'll have an
I want
opportunity.
to add to what my wife has messaged going across here is, so it's not like the sale of a car or an empty lot or a building with nothing in it. It's something that's touched thousands and thousands of people from 1965 to today. And if you talk to Richard Petty and ask him about Albany Saratoga Speedway, and he remembers racing there. I mean, there's some NASCAR Hall of Famers that have all been, made races there. Not that that's got anything to do with what's happening here going forward. We're here, just all the support we got back here is for, please don't pass that zoning to let that happen, because we could probably get someone in there to buy the place and continue it to be a speedway. And in my opinion, they need to put some money in it and build it up, make it bigger. Town of Malta could use
Make
it
it
too.
better.
You go down that stretch and that's a big entertainment venue right there, and it's awesome, so.
And it's very residential there. It's very country, it's very homey. And I don't think anybody wants to see multi-billion buildings going up in concrete. But
Thank
thank
you.
you. We appreciate you letting us talk.
Thank you.
you.
I have a John Sarber, maybe, from Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Tom Pierce. Tom McNamara from Thimbleberry.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Thomas McNamara. I live on Thimbleberry Road in Luther Forest. As far as the issue with the police barracks, I don't have much of anything to bring to the table as far as commentary. I'm sure it's gotten to be an old hat, and we've all heard it before. I would like to throw this out there as a possible question. Has anybody considered if that the Raceway property is going to be sold, why not make that a possible site consideration for the police barracks, since it's a very wide open, large open property? And that's all I have to say about either of those. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And I have Mr. Lieberman.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Lieberman, and I'm a resident of Malta living in Luther Forest on Mayapple Way. I attended the Malta Town meeting on June 3rd. These comments are in reference to that meeting. The meeting began with a public hearing for the utility easement for a state police barracks. This was obviously a hot contested issue with the public. On this date, the live stream video was recording of the meeting was unavailable due to technical issues, according to the board. It was not announced that this was the case until it was reported by a community member who was unable to find the live streaming of the meeting. On such a hotly contested issue, the public who were unable to attend the meeting could not hear the comments by their neighbors. It seems that live streaming recordings have been an ongoing problem. For the inclusion of the community and transparency, the live stream recordings need to be available. A backup system or better IT support should be sought to prevent failure of the system. In addition to live stream meetings of the town board, it has been requested several times that the planning board meetings also be live streamed for inclusivity and transparency. This was previously said at this meeting. The second concern I have is that when the meeting was open to comments from town residents, a presentation from a builder took the floor. The presentation continued for about 20 minutes with various presenters, a slide presentation. The presentation was abruptly stopped when Council Member Barbara Connor questioned the presentation that was not on the agenda and certainly not during the period of comments from town residents. Then a resident stood up and protested the continuation of the presentation during the comments from town residents. At that point, it became clear that the board members had been blindsided about this presentation. This presentation was not on the agenda, nor was it appropriate to have during the comments from town residents period. At a meeting that was met with contention from the town residents concerning the police barracks, this presentation from a developer during comments from the town residents was a distraction, particularly since there were many town residents who wished to make public comments at that time in regard to the police barracks. The third concern I have is that on tonight's action item, consent to grant easement by the New York State Police Dunning Street showed a total disregard of the concerns of the town residents. To vote on the consent on the same night that the public voiced their opinions showed that the public opinions were not initially considered. Lastly, my presentation concerning the form-based code and the environmental assessment was intended to shine a light on the town board's responsibility to support and protect the town. It might be considered a moot point in that the state does not have to adhere to form-based code or the environmental assessment of the town. But that does not diminish the town's responsibility to its residents to follow the town's regulations irrespective of any actions by the state. In regard to the issue of granting an easement to the state police, or they will cut down trees from Partridge Drum to bring in utilities, is a threat. If they don't get the easement, they will do something much worse. The state can use eminent domain to bring in utilities from Dunning Street or from Partridge Drum. They do not have to do something worse by cutting down additional trees and taking land owned by Fox Wander West on Partridge Drum. So to give consent for the easement under the fear of something worse would be a green light to the state that the town and its residents acquiesce to the demands of the construction of a police barracks in a residential community, which they are not. So I ask the town board not to approve the easement. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I have Susan Erickson, 68 Shore Avenue.
I forgot to put his name
Okay.
down. I'm sorry, that's my husband.
That's okay, you can bring a friend.
I'm Richard.
We just wanted to ask regarding the Saratoga Water Services purchase. I understand that there's supposed to be a vote that is going to take place on July 1st, I believe. So let's just assume that that goes through and the town is able to control the water. I have a lot of neighbors that are on Shore Ave as well, and they all have well water. So my question is, if that happens, is the town going to be able to provide town water services to the, I mean, I don't know on the other end, it's on the south end.
Well, there's been an issue like, because we've been dealing with the private company trying to get water. We live off of 8th Street. And from 1st to 7th Street, they have water. 9th Street has water. 8th Street does not. And, we had neighbors who were dealing with the private company. And only recently found out that his issue is there's the easement to find ownership of that property or the road. No one owns the road. We don't know who, we're trying to go back 50, 60 years to find a relative to get the easement so that we can run a line down so we could get water on that street. So we're just wondering if this purchase goes through, if you would be able to help us with that.
If you'll leave your number with the town clerk, I'll call you tomorrow and we can discuss that, because it is true, the problem with extension is nobody can figure out who owns 8th Street.
Okay.
Do you
all right.
belong to the same association that 1st through 7th Street belong to?
No, we didn't.
No, we're not a part of
Because I
that.
know they sold the rights to Mackey 20-plus years ago to be able to bring water down there for 1st through 7th.
Right,
And
that-
I had spoken to him, and he said that there's a problem with the easement, that he doesn't have the easement, and if he gets that, he'll put a line, he'll put. a
Yeah,
line
well,
there.
like I say, I'll call you tomorrow and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
I've spoken extensively to Mr. Mackey about it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Cameron Kivala? No comment. Okay. Bernie Companion? Okay, Justin, oh, you coming? All right,
I guess so.
all right. Now, I already crossed you off. No, that's okay. Just kidding.
Back in line, right? My name is Bernie Companion. I'm a racer over there. Haven't raced for quite a few years, but I've grown up, this high. We know you can't control the sale, but you can control what goes there. And every developer, just like this guy came and says, oh, I oppose this, but that's really not what's gonna happen. Same thing with these guys. We're gonna put low-income housing. What is low-income housing? $3,000 apartment in New York City, and this is $2,800? What says low-income housing? Same thing, the roads are, the same for the whole time I've been going to Malta, since I was this big. Now we're gonna put senior living. People go visit, there's an ambulance, so it determines what you guys say. We know you can't say, Howard, you cannot sell the property. We got it. all these people should be down Lebanon Valley on Saturday protesting to say, we don't want you to sell the property. But, you know, the developer's gonna say what he wants you guys to hear. And you know as well as I do, it doesn't always go the way they propose it. And how many bus routes are on Route 9 for low-income housing? Not one. No sidewalk, no nothing. So, I mean, just like Kim said, it's one night a week for the summer, you know, and we don't want it to be a Clifton Park. Stay away from Clifton Park because we need to do something with our infrastructure. We know it's gonna change. What's that? Oh, yeah. Well,
I still like it.
well, I mean, good answer. Is he an elected position?
He's the mayor.
You like you too, then?
He's the
Well,
mayor.
we just know that,
But the other thing you should know about him, he's a race fan, so.
right. Well, the thing of it is, you know, they're gonna tell you what you wanna hear.
Yeah.
Low-income housing, senior housing, we wanna do all this stuff. I mean, and just up until tonight, I didn't know there was anything for the 10 acres, that's 2/10 of a mile up on the same side. You know, and I don't, not to change the subject, but for the troopers barracks, why don't they go over to, where Global Foundries, take a few acres of land over there and build their stuff there and put whatever tower they want. You know? They got a prime piece over there they can sell when they're done. They can probably sell that and almost build half of what they're gonna build over there, but anyway. I don't think you guys should approve such a huge project like that. And even though they propose what they're gonna do, it's not what they're gonna do. Maybe 50% of it, you know? And
Maybe none of it.
maybe none of it. As long as they can get you to change the planning when it comes through, it's, you know, and maybe our governor should invest money in our infrastructure instead of investing it in something that I can go for hours, so, I mean, but we
Please
get the
don't.
point, I don't wanna repeat, you know, the same stuff over and over again. You guys know, you know, think we should leave it a racetrack.
Thank
We
you.
have no choice. We have a lot of other choices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Justin Taft, maybe, Saratoga? Another name I can't really read, someone from Avondale? Homan? Jerry Homan, maybe? No? This one I can read. Alice, well, maybe, Alice Wilson? From Queensberry? It's not that scary, don't worry.
Hi, I'm Alice Wilson, Queensbury. I've been going to Malta since I was a little girl. And I work at Malta for 7 years. Please don't let them take this away from us. All those guys in back, that's my family and all my friends that I made at the track for 7 years. Please don't let them take it away from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I have a Wesley from Fort Edward. And Crystal from Fort Edward. Paul and Kathy Mason from Malta.
You guys signed the wrong list.
Oh, you saw?
I thought it was just a sign-in list.
Well, there's one of those over there. There are several sign-in things, so. Kelly O'Connell? Okay. And Dave Kruszelnicki, are you still here? You spoke during the public hearing. Do you want to speak again?
I don't, I just said my piece, thank you.
Ben Ladd from Wilton? I'll go through these first. John Peralt?
Yeah, I signed the wrong list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, My name's John Peralta. I live over in Luther Forest. And, you know, there's a lot of things going on in this town. I've seen more people here than I've seen in forever. We have a big problem here. Councilman already said we have to stop development so we can get a grip of everything. We know the town needs to rezone. The problem is we're a little late. Our town members, government, knew that this town was growing years ago. And to all of a sudden say we need to rezone or we need to stop development is a shame. It's also going to hurt this town if we do that. Right? If you stop development, you stop people from coming in, we're not going to have the restaurants or housing, so forth, right? Everybody's talking about the racetrack. That should have been rezoned a long time ago, right? Now we're going to try to fight that. You can't fight that. If the person wants to sell it, they'll sell it. If this town wants to try to rezone it, and it's already in motion, boy, what a bunch of fools we look like here. You know, for us to do this so late in time is going to hurt this town. Kodak didn't move fast enough to digital film. They went down. Major companies don't move fast enough, they're going to fail. This town is going to fail. If you look at our zoning right now, if we went up and we took a drone and we went over the top of Route 9, what a mess. What a mess. It's terrible. There's no rhyme or reason from the circle all the way up Route 9. None. Zero. Nothing looks the same that was part of the whole plan years ago. Nothing looks the same. We have whatever people want to put in, going in, and this town's approving it, which is a shame. Our town does not look like Saratoga Boulevard. Okay? And if that's what you were trying to make it look like, failure, it's failed, because it's not going to happen. People talked about the developments going up on Route 9. You want to throw housing on Route 9? You get killed on Route 9. You get killed on Route 9. You can't cross a street on Route 9. People get killed all the time, further up by the drive-in. And now we're going to put a Treehouse Brewery up there too. Good beer though, really good beer, but the traffic that this town is going to incur because of Treehouse going up on Route 9 is going to be tremendous. If you have never been to one, go to one. Okay? I think that the town needs to move fast. I think you're right on rezoning, but man, oh man, if you don't do this now and you don't get this place rezoned now, the state police barracks, well, why in God's name why wasn't it residential? It's leading into it doesn't make any sense. And shame on, not you folks, now shame on you folks, but shame on the folks prior. And you know what, shame on the town. Because there weren't this many people at these meetings. There were only 10 or 15 people at these meetings before, and now all hell breaks loose, and everybody's trying to fix it today. And you're not gonna. And it's too bad that everybody's here now and not here 10 years ago. So, thank you for your time.
Pat Reagan, Wineberry.
Enough has already been said tonight, I'm gonna pass.
Now I'm back to Andrea or Andrew Draina, maybe, who didn't come up before. I can't read this name at all. County Route 76. Anybody? And I have the Zelkers, Debbie and Dave, Jackie Street. Sign in the wrong sheet. Jim Galler, something, Mechanicville, Fitch Road. Some Demetrius, Cindy's Lane. Chris?
Is that okay? Okay. Sorry, Judge. I was going to write out an agenda, what I want to talk about, but what I want to talk about comes from the heart, so to speak. I've lived in Malta for almost 40 years. I've seen a lot of these people in the pits. My kids were this big, growing up every Friday night. They used to play in the fields. In the springtime, I live in Malta Mobile Acres. I hear the springtime practice. That's Malta. When you first hear the modified startup, that's Malta. They do 20 weeks a year for 5 hours. There's a couple thousand people that go there every Friday night, and they look forward to it with their family, their kids, and they go there, and they have to shut off reality. They have a couple beers. I have one or two. And they watch these people race, and these people live for this. This is Malta. Everywhere I look in Malta these days, I'm driving down the road, there's land cleared here, there's land cleared there, there's land cleared there. I would agree with some of these people said that, sorry if I have a nervous tone, I haven't public spoken in a while. The best thing that I got out of tonight is everybody talking about everything, but you members that said, we got to put the brakes on things. And that meant a lot to me. I don't come to these meetings a lot. I think you can tell the tone in my voice that I really care about the raceway, I care about the people. Richard Petty ran there. Richard Childress ran there. These people run there. My buddy ran there for 25 years and decided to come back this year for another year. I don't know why he is, but he's back. So that's all I want to say about the raceway. Again, you said that you can't stop me from selling my home. But I truly believe somewhere out there, whether it be NASCAR, Devil's Bowl, other races, there's got to be somebody out there. I'm pretty sure I don't see his books. It's got to be a profitable business. Somebody out there will take the track over as the track. There's got to be somebody out there. And to put in what they proposed to put in there, which I saw on, I watched the gentleman being interviewed the other night in the news, is crazy. Crazy. It's, so for what it's worth, I just want to speak, I love the raceway. I think it's the footprint of Malta, and appreciate everybody for the time.
Thank you. Well, I have one more person on my list, but is there anybody else out there that wants to speak? I got you, Mark. I was letting everybody go first. Yeah, go ahead. Save the best for last? Yeah, you want, go ahead. Not Mark. Yeah, you. Yes.
I'm not really speaking, I just really have like 2 questions, like broad, but rhetorical questions.
Oh,
So,
gotta
this is about.
give Jen your name and.
Oh,
Ed.
Virginia, here?
No, yeah.
Virginia Whitney.
Yeah.
46 Thimbleberry Road in Luther Forest. So my questions are this. We haven't been to the racetrack much, but when we went, I loved it because it was family friendly. We saw multi-generation, so I understand exactly what you mean. So my thought is, my first questions are sort of this, they're rhetorical. So the first thought is, let's say it's a private sale, totally agree. So, but let's say he's selling it and they're offering him $10 million because their return on investment is going to be X because they're getting the zone changes. But if you don't get the zone changes, for a developer, maybe it's worth $2 million. So it's not whether he can sell it or not. The zone changes could be worth $8 million, $10 million. Because what developer is going to go in there if you're not going to make zone changes where they can make the money on it? So the zone changes are worth a dollar amount to the seller. Okay? So that's one thing. So you look at what might you do? Let's reach out to a developer somewhere else or a national, if anybody knows developers, and say, if I had a piece of property like this in this circumstance, and I gave you zones, what would you offer? And if I didn't give you the zone changes, what would you offer? I'm just saying if people know developers. Second point. So I think the family part's really important, but that you can't sort of monetize. So as a town, I don't know how this stuff works town-wise, but if you're looking at what do we get? So what do we get from developments? What do we earn as a town? What income do we get? Is it from taxes, property taxes, increased restaurant visits? We get more restaurants. So what is that value? Usually it's less than developers tell you. I would say maybe 20 to 30% of what they say is what you actually get, because you end up giving up a lot more than you actually get. So let's say you project every year we're going to earn this much off this development from taxes, from increased restaurant taxes, there are going to be more people buying clothes and all that stuff. Then you say, so what's the opportunity cost? Meaning, is there a different kind of investment or another racetrack owner or something that could in a different way bring in that kind of revenue to the town? So if, let's say you make $5 million a year off the property from taxes and stuff, is there some other way, maybe a racetrack or maybe community-oriented things or concert, whatever it is, but what money are we looking for to make? And then what perhaps other towns have looked at as more town-friendly, community-friendly, divvying it up and saying, how else could we get the same kind of revenue in that, and then we could rezone for that and reach out to people to say, maybe you can develop that. That's all I mean. It's an opportunity cost for that. And what are we looking to get back from that, from the town in terms of revenue, if that's a concern? Because that's what I would look at. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hammond. He's been avoiding us for a while, but he's back.
You thought I was going away. Mark Hammond, Malta Ridge. In all seriousness, I'm not here to criticize the new supervisor in the board now, comparing it to when I was in office and the older board. But speaking as a citizen, I have to say I am extremely concerned the direction this town is taken since January 1. And I have reasons for that. I've been, as you said, Cynthia, I've been paying very close attention because I care deeply about our town. That doesn't go away just because you're not supervisor anymore. When first elected in 2022, the town clerk's office, Jen Holmes and her staff, they put together newsletters that would go out, packets, if you will, to new residents in the town of Malta to welcome them. And one of my first assignments really was to put together a little letter from the supervisor welcoming people to the town and kind of like boast about what we have in our town and make them feel welcome. And it was really cool. I mean, I've always been a lover of history. I've always loved our town. I've been here almost 40 years now. And I was proud to be able to say at that time we had a rodeo. Most towns don't have that. We have a speedway and we have a drive-in. Those were the three biggies. And I loved being able to say that because, again, you don't see that in other towns. You don't see that in other towns because it's not Malta. But now we have winds of change that seem to be blowing. Mr. McDermott touched on something a little earlier. If you remembered what I had said about the Saratoga water purchase. The water it's got to be done properly, which is why myself and the board at that time worked for 2 years to craft and to work with Alec Mackey to purchase that water so that the town of Malta owned it. But along with that, as I've asked you, Supervisor, several times, I've never really gotten an answer, and it's been an email too. What controls, what guidelines is this board willing to start putting on paper to actually put teeth into what our thoughts are as residents with the growth? I haven't seen or heard of anything yet. So the other gentleman spoke to pretty much trying to shut the barn door after the horse is out. That's what we're doing now. But with water, at least you can stem a lot of future growth in areas where you don't want it. That's not happening. Instead, we're worried about other things. We're adding on to a water district that we haven't even voted on yet. And don't get me wrong, I pray to God that it passes because I think it's the best thing for this town because we can control our own destiny, only if it's done right. That's where my big concern is. I don't like seeing the relationship that's being developed with, between the planning, or the town board rather, the supervisor's office and developers. I'm a little bit confused with this latest one with the raceway. Everyone says they didn't know anything about it, including you, Cynthia. Yet there was a WGY interview on the radio where a representative of that developer stated he talked to you 2 weeks before the board meeting. And he also said he was acting on direction, which is why they came that night and used privilege of the floor to present their project. Something's not adding up there. Now, I do know this from the 2 years I was in office. No developer is going to put together anything and come before the public and the board unless they got a little encouragement to do so. That worries me big time. There's also another development over in that direction called the Stein Project. A lot of people might have forgot about that. A lot of apartments there. Have you been advocating to keep that alive? Because right now, as I understand it, they don't have water. Oh, that's right, you don't answer questions. I forgot about that. Sometimes when you don't say anything, you say a lot. These are not good things for our town. And on a final note, and again, this is just my concern, although it sounds like criticism. It's not right that Al and Craig and Matt and sometimes even Barbara have no idea who you're talking to or what you're talking about. That is not good business. Because when those folks don't know what's going on and a constituent asks them questions and they don't know the answers, bad form. Bad form. And this is just coming as a resident. I don't want to see this town destroyed because somebody wants to put apartments everywhere they can. That's not what Malta wants. Malta didn't want that when I got elected. There's only so much you can do as supervisor, but there's also other things you can do as supervisor. And when you're talking with people, if there is encouragement, and maybe there wasn't, but boy, something just doesn't smell right here. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public comment? Nope. Okay, Amy Jean.
Amy Jean Robbins, Mayapple Way. I understand this is just a comment period, not a question-answer period, and I appreciate that. So I'd like to read a letter I wrote to the board. Dear Town Board, I ask you to vote down the state police request for easement approval on Dunning Street. 106 Dunning Street is not an appropriate site for the new police barracks. A plethora of sound reasons have been presented. The location simply does not make sense. There will be considerable traffic load added to an already congested roundabout. There will be light and noise pollution to a treed and quiet community. The safety of the foot and bike path enjoyed by families will be compromised, and the project will desecrate the last of the 150-year-old forest preserve. The project should be stopped and relocated. There is still time. Alternate, more appropriate, and readily available locations have been identified within Malta. We ask the state police, why nestle yourself in a neighborhood with limited access instead of along a main travel corridor with a visual presence? Why are they intent on tucking themselves inside a residential area? Why are they hiding this important facility? And better still, why are they hiding from us? For over a year, we have been asking the state police to share with us, to address our concerns, and to work together towards a solution amicable to everyone. We have been met with silence. Now they are hiding behind their project team, stating the easement decisions and demands are coming from OGS and Springline Design. New York State Police, do not blame the team you have hired. They work for you. The state police argued that it is too late, that they have put too much time and money into developing drawings for this location. Their argument does not hold up. We asked them in early 2023 to meet with us. It was their decision to continue forward and invest another 1.5 years of resources into the project without addressing or resolving community issues and concerns. I might also add, the drawings, as presented to date, are schematic in nature and could easily be adapted to a similar site. It has also been reasoned that approving the easement does not imply acceptance of the project. I disagree. This is exactly how an approval will be interpreted. The approval will bring the project one step closer to where we don't want it. The residents want the barracks moved to a different location. We should not acquiesce. We need to be clear with our actions and your vote that alternate sites need to be explored and considered. New York State is also suggesting, if they don't receive approval on Dunning Street, they will propose an alternate easement at Partridge Drum. This location has even worse consequences. This will create even more destruction of the forest. Most importantly, it is within the boundaries of the Luther Forest Corporation Subdivision Number 4, Foxwander West Neighborhood Association. That is HOA-owned land. We pay dues and taxes on this land. It belongs to us. What kind of precedent is being set if this land can just be taken? This buffer land is part of the original covenant designed for the preservation and enhancement of the homes contained within. The tone and handling of this project has been a PR fiasco from the onset, and the irony is not lost on all of us. The state police, peacekeepers, have offered no communication, and without providing information are escalating a tenuous situation among the community they are sworn to protect and serve. Trust has been broken, confidence has eroded, and misinformation is rampant. This unresponsive stonewalling is bad optics for civil servants intended to safeguard us. Town Board, I implore you to vote down easement approval on Dunning Street tonight. And if in response, New York State decides to exercise eminent domain at Partridge Drum, it will need to be voted down as well. I appreciate the opinion held, lesser of two evils, but this is not an easement or access issue. This is a location issue. You are our voice, and your votes are our last stronghold. Please vote no.
Thank you. I think we had another member of the public. If you can give your name. And then hopefully we can move on. We have a lengthy agenda after this.
Sorry, I'll be quick. My name is Chris Stewart. I'm Legend Lane, Milton. I used to live over at Arrowwood Place, and I'm from Stillwater. You ask a developer what they see with the track, they're going to see money, land. What that track is more than just land to all of us. I'm not related to any of these people, but over a lifetime of going to that track, they become my family. The track is not dying, it's thriving. It's the highest car counts in the Northeast. It's packed every single week of people who come to Malta. I was just in New Hampshire this morning. People from Maine know of Malta, New York because of that track. You're not going to get that from apartments. I work for Saratoga Fire. I know what what affordable housing is. It's not what the developer is going to tell you what it is. They're going to tell you what they want you to hear to sell you their pitch. We can't stop Howie from selling the land. But as Kim and Denise said, you hold the power with the zoning. There's enough people that care about this track that it's more than land. It's memories. Like I said, I grew up in Stillwater. Every Friday night, I would come home from school, sit on my front porch to see the cars go by up County Route 76. You know, Kenny Tremont, Brett Hearn. Normal guys that worked 9-to-5 jobs that became heroes. I think that is something that future generations should get that opportunity. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, as I said, the next step will be we'll have a workshop, and we'll make sure that you all are aware of when it is. It'll be advertised, and you're all welcome to come back. So So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, now you're all leaving? Jeez. Under the next agenda item is comments from town board and department heads. All of you have a little handout in front of you. Up here, I want to announce that we have received a grant, a TAP grant from the state of New York for $1.6 million to provide a multi-use trail to go from basically down Route 9 to the entrance to Malta Gardens. That $1.66 million includes lighting along the trail, landscaping, and a bike repair station. And the person that we need to give a lot of credit to for this is our planner, Adrian Cattell, who basically, he'll tell you the department helped, but he was the spearheader on it. So pleased to see that we're going to have that pedestrian improvement moving forward. I also want to congratulate the Spotlighters Theater Troupe for 35 years in making quality productions here in Malta. They just finished up their most recent production, which is a production that was written by our theater director, Elise Young. It was fantastic. I went to it yesterday. It was absolutely delightful. She wrote all the music to it, and it was a fantastic performance. Last for me is that we are indeed having a referendum on July 1st for the possible purchase of Saratoga Water Services. Anybody that's in the district can vote. If you own your home jointly with another, both of you can vote. If your home is in a trust, only the fiduciary can vote, and businesses get one vote. So I encourage everybody that's in the district to please go out and vote. It's July 1st from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. right here in this room. And that's all I have. Any other town board?
Yeah, I got something. Referring back to Mark Hammond's issue on the water, and the way we tried to construct it then, Cynthia and the board has been focused on July 1st to get it passed. That's the first part. The next part is just what he said. We have to really define what our business model is like going forward. Otherwise, we might as well not even buy it. That's simple. I've never seen anything in writing on it. It's that time we move forward and do that, because otherwise, you know, we're talking about our zoning tonight being a disaster. That would be a big disaster too. Two of them. We got one we got to handle. Let's keep it that way. We'll straighten that out. But we got to move forward to define just a simple business model for all of us. And it might change, but we have to do that to preserve the town's future.
Yeah, the next step, Craig, actually is to draft an ordinance.
Yep.
And that will all take place there. First, we got to get it, so.
And I hope it passes. I mean, I've been on this water issue for 8 years now, and people are tired of hearing from me, so let's get it passed.
I have a couple things. First one, I want to discuss possibly putting a moratorium on all new applications for major developments in the town until we get the environmental impact statement back and until we can start looking at all of our zoning. The gentleman sitting in the front row, I apologize, I forgot your name. But you're absolutely right. We just screw up. We've gone too far as a town board to allow what's here today, what we're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. But we can affect everything going forward to maintain the character and aesthetics of Malta, the very things that we fell in love with this town about. So I would like to have a discussion about possibly having a moratorium until we readdress our zoning here. Another thing that is very concerning as things are changing here in Malta, we've had 2 homicides in a 2-week period. Unheard of. One is, our person's been charged with manslaughter. That was at Malta Point Apartments. 2 weeks later, there was a home invasion in Northway Estates, and it appears that the homeowner had to defend himself. That's alarming, and I would like to establish a public safety task force with members from both police departments that serve here, the sheriff's department, the state police, other people in the community, to come up with ideas of possible recommendations of how we, as the town board, can ensure the safety and security of our residents here.
That's actually something that also has been suggested by Barbara, so it's definitely something we can look at. I talked about, a lot of those members are on the emergency management committee, so maybe we can kind of tie that sort of responsibility in with that committee also. But we'll talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
I got a few things.
There you go. That's the way
I thought you were
like
gonna go on more.
work.
A couple things. I think as a group, we need to be a little bit more descriptive on our agenda. I mean, we missed the last one where we're supposed to have a presentation that we didn't know about. And I know what I saw was a presentation. And even on this one, presentation from the LA group, we need to get that a little bit more descriptive of housing units, couple hundred on a certain such location. Because when you just look at the LA group presentation on the agenda, no one really knew what that was. But they might know if they say, hey, 200, 300 housing units on Route 9. We owe that transparency to be a little bit more descriptive. We got to learn from our mistakes. I think I've talked about that before. Again, I sort of,
If I can stop you there for a minute, there were supporting documents for that presentation on the website when the agenda was put out.
let's make it easier for the public, all right? Because they're going to go to the agenda. And if they could see one document and read it instead of, yes, there's 20, 30, there's 600 pages of documents on the webpage that you can all read for this meeting if you'd like to. So let's just keep it easy for the residents, or maybe not the residents, let's keep it easy for me. I like to see the agenda and know right away, all right? I know what I don't know. I think we do need to go and think real hard about hiring IT support, so we do have some backup, and then we have someone here to come here during the planning meetings so we can stream it. We should progress, move forward. We've had the prior town board, get new equipment in here. That's first step, moving forward. Now, all we got to do is keep on getting better, all right? Let's not stop. Raceway fans, I'm sorry to see you leave, but I'm all in favor of keeping the raceway and not putting 700 units there. There ain't no doubt about it, where I stand on that deal. And the last thing, Adrian, if you're here, I'd like to thank you for your effort. That's a big step for us to get some sidewalks on Route 9. That's not an easy feat. It's $1 million some odd dollars. I'm sure we're gonna put his name in the concrete on the, at least you'll get some handprints there at a minimum when we build that sidewalk.
We can name it Adrian's Way or something. So,
There you
yeah,
go.
that is a huge accomplishment, so thank you. Okay, so we can move on to tonight's action items. The first one is a big one. It's the consent to allow the state police an easement to disrupt our trail, to put the utilities in for the proposed state police barracks. So can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so by way of discussion, first I'm going to read to you a letter that I got from our friend Harold Major Latardo. I wrote to him last week and asked for a determination about the tower, and you'll be interested to hear I got a very non-answer. The relocation of the communications tower from the current facility is both complex and delicate, and therefore requires significant analysis, testing, and planning. Our agency has not made a determination on the future site of the tower and is actively considering available viable options. At this time, the state police remains steadfast in its commitment to facilitate the construction of the new station, and we're working towards that goal. When a decision has been made on the future of the tower, I will provide an update.
Let's just offer up the tower on our property then, right here. Put it right over there.
Where we're going to put the new court?
Well, we're gonna buy the new court.
Oh. You know, so, and any discussion?
Yes. A lot of people have emailed me this past week. Notwithstanding, everybody's against the barracks going there, including myself. And many of you know I am a retired state trooper. I just want people to know, as I've talked to my colleagues in an agency that I very much love, everybody I spoke to who was a member of the state police, they've also acknowledged they don't want the barracks there. This is at the highest level. So, and I know everybody knows this, when you say the state police, just remove the vast majority of the people that are out there serving for your protection and safety. They're not the ones making this decision. They know that they're here to serve you, and they want that good relationship with the community. That being said, the vast majority people who have emailed me reluctantly will agree that we should grant the easement over Dunning Street, over the walkways, to preserve those trees coming off of Partridge Drum. The other thing that I'm concerned about is talking about the radio tower. I do believe that is a fight we can win to not have that radio tower there. I fear that if they cut down more trees off Partridge Drum, we may now be giving them that area to now say, okay, we're going to put the radio tower there. I don't know that if they would do that or not, but I don't want to give them any reason to do that. As I said, I do believe we can win that fight of not moving that radio tower to that location. I had a couple people who did not want to say no to crossing over them, the walkway, and I had a couple people who wanted us not to vote at all. I will be voting to grant the easement across the walkway to preserve as much of the woods as possible if the state police barracks goes there.
It's well said, Matt, but just so we know, it's not going to be a unanimous vote. I can pretty much tell you that. In all fairness to Matt.
Anybody else? I too have struggled with this question, this decision. Like I said, we got opinions back and forth, and in some cases, one member of the family said approve it, and the other one said no. It's a tough choice, but like Matt, I am afraid that if we say no to the easement, because I think, I don't know, I'm afraid that if we don't stop it and we put the easement and we don't give them the easement, it'll just be worse. So that's my concern. We still can work towards, trying to get it relocated. But I think our weapons are getting dulled now at this point. We don't, nobody gets back to us. Nobody gets back to our representatives in Albany. So I just don't know where else to turn. So.
I got something to say about it.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it short. Cynthia and I were on the board when that property was handed over to the state. At the time, we thought it was a great idea. It was publicly put out there. We didn't hide anything. It was filmed, as I recall. I supported it then because I've always been concerned about people, the safety in the town, which I'm going to speak on afterwards. I live about a 60-second walk from where they're going to put it. I have no issues. I have no issues on traffic. There's not going to be any traffic. There's not going to be alarms going off. It was all about safety. And I'm still on that because, to be honest, we're not going to change this. It's all in the hands of the state. And I've been saying that since the fall. And I told people, I got in just trying to create conversations. They didn't want to listen to me. Since the fall, this was done. We have no control over that. We do have lots of control over other things, but we don't have control when the state comes in and wants to put a trooper's office there, and the town board is saying to them, we want you to stay in Malta. I confirmed they were looking for properties outside this town, and they would have moved if they had a chance. There's other properties in town here that we were never even consulted about. Zoning, I never even knew that they were there till I went to the planning board, and they told me. I heard it from a hair salon. And if I told you where it was now, and you drove in there, you'd go, ooh, how did that end up in Malta? I'm just giving you the facts. And that's what drives my decisions. Safety and facts. Not rumors, facts. So I am going to support it.
Unlike Craig, I do regret the fact that we did that during the pandemic with very little information out to the public. So for that, I publicly apologize. So, but it doesn't change probably what I'm going to do tonight. And I've tried to get more information out, so, in my agendas. Any more remarks, or are we ready to vote? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Barbara? No. Okay. All right, thank you. On to the next controversial item on our agenda. The expansion of the Malta Water Supply District Number 1. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So by way of discussion, I just want to say, first of all, that I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that all we're voting on tonight is to extend water to a fully approved project. Stopping this water extension will not necessarily stop the project from moving forward. It'll just probably cost us all a lot more money. Now, I've been asked by Mr. Lansing if he could offer a few remarks during our discussion, but I'll leave that up to the board to decide if they want to allow him.
Who's that?
No, that was during the residents' time, it's not during our time.
Just so you know, he's the petitioner and the engineer. You don't have to listen to him, but I just want to be clear on that.
That's all right. I mean, everyone's got a vote up here. I give you mine.
Would you like to hear from Mr. Lansing?
I got something to say on it, yeah. Over a year, I've been actively engaging with residents of Miller Road and Avondale area to address their concerns about street safety. Despite the town's request for a speed reduction from the state over a year ago, the safety studies which sit on shelves, if the road remains hazardous for all pedestrians and cyclists. I have met with the developer to find a compromise to mitigate the increased traffic caused by the recent development approval of the 118 homes, 19 homes in the area. And despite their traffic study not addressing the traffic on Miller Road as issued in 2021. However, no solution has been found for the safety. As a result, I cannot and will not support this project. But tonight's vote is for water, and I will support that. But until the issue of safety on Miller Road is adequately addressed and resolved by making Malta a safe, walkable community, as the town of Malta and the Department of Transportation so proudly tout. As an elected official, it is my duty to prioritize the well-being of our residents, families, and children over the interest of the developers' profits. I will be voting yes for the water, but after consulting with everybody, I truly believe that this development, as proposed, has failed. It's not safe, it's cut corners, it has issue with drainage, just like our residents spoke of tonight. But I am not willing to block water, even though I so tout it, for this project.
I got something.
Because, number one, like our supervisor says, it's not going to change anything. The only thing that has to change is our zoning in town and our comp plan, which we just approved. And frankly, like others said, that view shed that we're going to get, if you drive by it at that speed limit, it flies by, and you're not going to prevent trees from growing. It's going to be covered up, and we're all going to forget about this whole thing in 3 years. So let's just move on, address it, address our zoning.
I'll address something, though. Very disturbing to hear someone say, we're not going to change anything. We're up here with a chance to vote, then we get a say and not rubber stamp something. So we do have the ability to change something. I mean, we just got reprimanded for not doing something, and now we're saying our hands are thrown up. My hands are not thrown up yet. So if you do extend the water, and then I keep on hearing fully approved project. Well, who approved it? Then why do you need my vote for it to continue? So I don't understand this, who approved it? How is it costing us more money? How much money is it costing us if we vote not to extend the water? I mean, those are just terms thrown out there loosely with no value on it. So I'll be definitely voting no. I'm very disappointed if this project goes through.
I spoke to the superintendent of Boston Water, and from what I'm being told, that Clifton Park Water Authority jointly owns that water line with Boston, and Town of Boston has not approved the extension of Clifton Park Water Authority. So vote from us is even moot to begin with.
I think that our town attorney will probably speak to that. Is that true? You prepared to?
Yeah, I did receive correspondence from the town of Boston's attorney. I've reviewed it with the Clifton Park Water Authority attorney and reviewed the agreement myself. There's nothing in the alleged agreement that requires Clifton Park Water to get approval from the town of Boston. What we're voting on tonight is Malta has approved the water district, the water supply district number 1 that has a certain boundary. We're voting to amend that to include this approved project. Clifton Park Water and the town of Malta are the parties to that agreement. The second part of the resolution is to approve the execution of the agreement to allow for a new property description. The decision before the board is whether it's in the public interest to extend the water. And this board does not have appellate jurisdiction over the planning board. And your decision, in my view, is to make it based upon the facts of the petition, the map plan and report that was presented, and the agreement between Malta and Clifton Park Water. Clifton Park Water Authority has approved the extension, and as has the town of Clifton Park, which are both requirements of our agreement. Certainly, as the board, you have full purview to make your decisions, but the actual decision before the town board is put forth in the resolution is the expansion of the water district in the public interest? And are there reasons within that petition and that map plan and report that you as the town board don't think that to be the case? So I guess there's a disagreement between the attorneys. I do believe that the engineers, the applicant's engineer and attorney are present. The Clifton Park Water attorney is also present, but that has been reviewed and there is certainly a disagreement. There's nothing specifically in that agreement that requires Town of Boston to approve this, nor in our agreement. So I hope that answers your question and helps you make your decision.
I have, if I may just make one more comment, I will be a yes vote on this. I was on the Oats Committee when we first began to look at preserving for agricultural purposes that piece of property. The previous supervisor also on the Oats Committee and I believe was in favor. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mark, but this is not a new project. It's not a surprise. I worry that this board is going to be taking on a role it should not take, which is allowing a developer, a landowner, whatever, to proceed through all of the correct steps, get the correct approval, go through the planning board, do all the things, invest money, and then we suddenly say, sorry, we're going to pull the plug. I mean, you just can't do business like that as a town. You cannot do that to people if they can't trust when they've done all the right steps. We had this board before I was on it had opportunities to not pursue this. They could have stopped it. The planning board could have stopped it. They did not. So when it comes to this now, it's meaningless and it's not a good precedent. Either we're a town that keeps our word, that is going to honor what was passed and approved, or we're not. And I don't want to be a town that does not keep its word, even if elected officials change. It has nothing to do with us. It has to do with a fair process, in my opinion.
Well,
As she states, they did follow the process. They were approved. The problem is, we really didn't have a say on that project until the end. Yeah, we got the traffic report. We got the water report. I don't have any problem with the water report. Traffic plan, yes, I do. It's safety. We've been addressing it for over a year. We haven't still heard from the state, as I understand. And we've been given the power to control the safety on town roads. And what have we done here? We did nothing. The only thing we did was we had a vendor send us 2 signs for free because I caught them in a trap. And all of a sudden they appeared. Now we're trying to make a step forward. Yeah, we got a safety plan in the works. How long is that going to take? That's going to take $13,000 to have them put up some stop signs and a crosswalk. You know what? We got to get our priorities in order. We don't have it now. Barbara's right. And we have to really start focusing on what we want our town as. There's been steps forward in the form-based code. Years ago, we thought we were on the right track. We've changed our zoning. We've modified it. But like I was telling Scott today, you really don't know what a zoning change is going to do until 5 and 10 years afterwards. And that's the problem. Well, that's the same thing that happened on this project. We had no say until this came up. And you know what? We got their attention. That's why we're going to buy this water company, so we can start controlling development in town. I've been fighting it for years. And you know what? I was right. I didn't realize the power that this town board has. But on the other hand, I don't think it's the most logical step. The logical step is to take a slow look at what we're doing, why we're doing it, and really analyze it and changing it. Don't just rubber stamp things any longer. It's done. And if I got to put on a building moratorium, I'd be happy to do it. It hasn't been done in years. But when it was done, Ellsworth Commons, this whole town stopped. I bet you all forgot about that. Sundays, they weren't pounding hammers. People weren't complaining, but it got everybody's attention. And if we got to do that here and now, we can do it. But I am going to support the water.
Okay.
But I want that safety and the traffic addressed on Miller Road come hell or high water. We dropped the ball on this. The states dropped the ball. We're going to pay for it now. That's all I got to say.
Okay, back to the water. They follow the process. Well, that's not saying the process ain't flawed if you're putting the cart in front of the horse. And you got to keep coming to this board for an easement improvement. And then you got to get a water extension improvement. Well, then if it don't need the board, then why are they coming voting for us? And I heard another word that I hate to hear, that our vote is meaningless. Wrote it down. So we got change nothing and meaningless and no transparency. There you go. That's where we are today.
Are we ready to vote on this? Okay, all in favor?
No.
No.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, I don't think this next one is quite, well, might be. I've turned over this page. So the next item on our agenda is to set a public hearing, not a hearing in public, pursuant to Chapter 60 of the Malta Town Code entitled Premises Unsafe and Unmaintained. Our code enforcement is recommending that we consider a condemnation of a property at 2378 Route 9. And she provided and again, it was on the website, she provided a description as to why these conditions are unsafe. So what we basically want to do is, it's kind of like we did with Steeplechase, is have a hearing in 2 weeks' time on July 8th, so that our code enforcement can present a case, and then the owner of the property, if they so choose, can present a case. So can I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
How about discussion? And our code enforcement officer is here, if you want to ask questions of her.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
For Erica? Or for me?
No, for Erica.
Okay.
If we condemn this residence, where would the family go?
Potentially.
So they've already been relocated with family. So the house is already in a do not occupy status.
Okay.
But to make it more safe, move along with the condemnation process.
Okay, thank you. If we condemn it, so obviously then they're not allowed back into this residence. Is that correct, Steve?
Yeah, well, tonight's hearing is to find merit with respect to the report you've received and to make a tentative determination. After you have the actual hearing, yeah, if you condemn the property, what's being asked of is that the property be removed or raised. It's a mobile home, and due to its condition and unsafe, and the risk that it poses to the residents and to the public and to any occupants would be that it be removed.
Yeah, I support a hearing, and I know this must be difficult. Obviously, you don't want to displaced families and things like that. But I appreciate the investigation you did here, and I know you're looking out for the welfare, I'm sure, for that child that lives in that house.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
I had a couple questions, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So just for you've already provided to the town board a report, and in that report, there were pictures of it, correct?
Yes.
So, and your report basically substantiates that the house is completely uninhabitable, correct?
Correct.
And also that you've notified and take steps previously to engage the owners in the park and to make them aware of the current problems, correct?
Yeah.
This
Everyone.
isn't going to be the first they're hearing of it, is that right?
That's correct.
All right, so I just want the board to be aware of the process that our code enforcement office has followed is comprehensive. It's been noticed that it's in violation. They've taken steps to prevent access to it due to the unfit nature of it. And the point we're at now is that for you to make a determination that you agree with her initial assessment. Obviously, the owner of the property or the occupants haven't had the opportunity to be heard, and this would give them that opportunity.
Thank you, Eric.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the last action item tonight is budget transfers. For the most part, they're pretty straightforward. One of them is just to reflect, we have to pay the poll inspectors for our referendum on July 1st. We have ordered a survey for Manginos to clearly mark our boundaries. So our comptroller is recommending we use the ARPA funding for that. And the last one is that our maintenance supervisor noticed uneven wearing on tires, and when they took it over to our mechanic to take a look at it, found out that the frame was cracked. And so on one of the vehicles, so that renders that vehicle unusable. So we are proposing to appropriate $50,000 from the fund balance to purchase a new truck for our maintenance department, because they're down a vehicle and they need it. So, well, first of all, they need a motion and a second on the budget transfer resolution.
Second.
Did somebody make the motion?
I'll make a
the
motion.
motion. Who's going to second it?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Al, you look like you're thinking.
You want me to think out loud how disappointed I am with this board? I can go on for another half hour if you like, but nothing on this topic.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's our action items. We have left now discussion items. The body worn cameras for our code enforcement has been on our agenda, I think 3 months in a row now. So I actually printed you all a copy of that policy, and I'm hoping that we can discuss it and either put it up for action next time or put it to bed. So basically, our code enforcement officers would like to have a policy whereby they can wear body cameras like law enforcement do. They get themselves sometimes in situations where, what? Julia's shaking her head back there at me.
I'm sorry, the Director of Parks and Rec.
Oh, Director of Parks and Rec, no, yeah, not the Director of Parks and Rec. Okay. Yeah, code enforcement, so we discuss that? How do y'all feel about this?
And that's going to include the dog officers if needed also?
Yes.
Thank you.
He actually already wears one, I believe.
That big boy.
Yes, so if I could give you a little background on it, the policy that we're looking to implement would allow the code enforcement officers, the animal control officer, and the fire marshals to basically enhance their enforcement efforts and to actually have more transparency because those residents that could actually see the videos as well. The issues are that it would be a policy in which they would use it only for limited things, all inspections of properties, if there's a violation that they're called into for local law or zoning code, or investigative actions. And once they turn on their camera, they're instructed to keep it on unless asked by the owner to turn it off. You know, that nothing in the policy would allow you to record in areas where there's enhanced privacy concerns. You know, bathrooms and places of that nature. So the policy before you also would require that really consent of the homeowner, and you know, if a minor can't give that consent. So we're not going to be videoing minors in their residences. The other major concern with the policy is how do we treat this information and how do we store and preserve it? So there's a bunch of information in there to protect it from being improperly disclosed, retained for too long. You know, our records, this is a record, are subject to FOIL. So you need to be very sensitive to, you know, how these devices are stored and maintained. And other components of the policy to make sure that people are trained in it and to provide adequate notice so that people are aware of the videoing. And also then to require that the code enforcement officer and the administrative use of it is only for the purposes of the actual thing they've been called to, inspect the property or a zoning violation, not to be used for any other purpose. So we've tried to come up with a comprehensive policy. Greg Berg worked extensively on it, the planning department and myself. The real issue for the board really is, two other things I want to point out is that, and if it is used improperly by anybody for inappropriate purposes, that employee could be disciplined as it's just not appropriate. Lastly, any of the code enforcement officers and animal control officers, they have their own privacy rights that need to be considered, and there may be, I'm not aware of any presently that don't want to wear them, and we would need to sort of consider that in any policy. So the policy before you tries to address those concerns and come up with a plan. All of this would be enacted pursuant to the town has previously adopted a policy, or excuse me, a local law for code enforcement. And this policy would be adopted in furtherance of our existing local law. It's subject to town board review. It could be updated or changed. But I think the big decisions for the town board are yes, you know, we've seen not just locally but everywhere things seem to be getting out of control, and the safety of our code enforcement officers, animal control officer, fire marshal is paramount. Likewise, you know, the police body worn cameras have largely been you know, successful in providing greater transparency. So if there isn't a hearing or an enforcement action, the video could be introduced as long as we've done our job and recorded it and tracked it and created the proper chain of custody. You know, then you can use the video to substantiate what actually occurred. And I think that is benefit to not just our code enforcement, but the public. So if the board likes the policy, thinks it's a good policy, balancing it against the privacy concerns of residents, then we can adopt that policy, and I would prepare a resolution to do so. So I think we're at sort of that point. If there's any questions for me or code enforcement now or in the future, we could tweak or monitor this, but that's what's been presented.
So just to verify a couple things, it's on a volunteer basis if one of our employees wants to turn it on, but no matter what, they need to get consent from the homeowner, and that has to be an adult.
Correct. We're adopting a policy that's saying that the town shall provide these to be worn and they'll be used to record any of these things unless there's not consent from the homeowner. So where this policy contemplates that they should be wearing them, if someone objects to it, they could come to the board and, or privately request not to have to comply with that policy. That, I'm not aware of that being a concern with the current code enforcement, but the second part of your question is it does require consent of the homeowner. They would inform them that they are recording. If they don't consent to it, they would turn it off.
So the animal control officer, if he doesn't want to wear it, he doesn't have to wear it. Or we are saying you have to wear it.
Yeah, that's up to the board. I mean, you know, as it's written now, it's to be worn. What I'm suggesting is that's a legitimate privacy concern of someone. They may have different reasons for not being comfortable with it. This policy as written doesn't specifically address that, but that would be a board decision, like any other policy we have, to waive the requirement.
Has there been issues that we should be concerned about with the fire marshal, code enforcer, animal control officer having come across?
There have been several incidents of great concern, and I direct you to talk to the code enforcement for specific details. But yes, there have been incidences of serious concern, and the best policy would obviously be this camera just records. If they're threatened, they should call the police like anyone else.
And particularly, Matt, with the dog warden, our animal control officer, and Erica has also been in a couple of situations where it was good to have a recording. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just had a quick, you maybe, Steve, you said this and I didn't hear it clearly, but if someone inadvertently records criminal activity, can that recording be subpoenaed?
Yeah, these are sort of issues that haven't been fully resolved, but potentially, yes. It's a record of the town, and our intention is to use it only for legal and valid reasons. But again, it is a legitimate concern of that, not just for criminal activity, but any activity.
And yeah, we would,
And
those could be subpoenaed probably, and we'll keep them for a
And
period of time.
inappropriate use could also be grounds for liability for the town.
So put a resolution up, see how it flies. You'll have a couple of weeks to think about it.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you have any issues, you
Right.
can certainly suggest that this policy can be changed.
So the next two items are related to the mid-block crossing, the pedestrian crossing that we are poised to construct across the street here. The first one is a scope of services for inspection and support during the construction process by Creighton Manning Engineering. So that will be a resolution for next week. And we also next week will establish a capital project for the completion of the project. The numbers may change after it goes out to bid, but this will give us at least the opportunity to be able to prepare bid documents and put it out for request for proposal and see what comes back. We have secured a sizable amount of funding for this project, so looking forward to it moving forward. Anybody have any questions or comments about that?
Even though we're getting funding, just remember the town has their cost too.
Yes.
We don't know what that is yet, so.
And Councilman Warner, also the reality is that, the town has to advance those costs, get reimbursed by the state.
Right,
So if
right.
we've submitted the contract, it hasn't been signed yet, we're hoping certainly that they will sign it.
But yeah, it's
Yeah, it's true.
relatively certain. I mean, they came to us actually, so. The next one, this is a little tricky. So we installed the charging stations. Oh, streetlights at Cedar Point, okay. So actually, I might take the Nabner one off because I believe there will be streetlights on the trail that we put in. But we've been approached by the, and I believe it was even in the last administration, by the residents of Cedar Point to provide a streetlight on Route 9. There is a pole there. NYSERDA will install that light at no cost to us. The responsibility for us would be to pay the light bill, which they're telling me it would be about $20 a month.
So is that gonna be a lighting district?
No.
Or just to
It's
us?
just, there are other places where we have streetlights that the town of Malta actually pays for it. Really isn't that significant for, to establish a district. But, they requested it, so I brought it to you to see how you think. But
Are they-
Control's giving me the eye, but,
There's another point to make as to why this isn't going to be a street lighting district is because it actually pertains to the walkway in front of the development, not the sign, which other lighting districts of the town
right,
points to the development sign. This one will not.
right, it's strictly a street light.
Is there gonna be any solar on it at all?
Any what?
Solar?
I don't think so. I think we talked about that with NYSERDA, but they thought that this,
And they didn't
no, they,
urge that?
no, I think they think that this is actually more economical for everybody around.
Really?
Yeah. It's, yeah. And like I say, they're gonna install it at no cost to us or anybody. They're just gonna put it, well, cost of them, I suppose, but,
Well, actually, it is a cost of us. NYSERDA is coming out of our,
yes, well, true, that's true. It is a state
that
agency, yeah,
rebate that you got,
yeah,
that's your money.
yeah. Put it out there, it doesn't necessarily have to go on next week. Like I say, it was a request, so I wanted to bring it to you and see how you think about it, but, think about that and,
Aren't I right about that?
we don't generally take public comment, but there's a comment period at the end of the meeting that you'll be able to speak. Okay, now the tricky one. So the charging stations were installed behind this building. And for the first year, there's software available so that when somebody charges their car back there, they get charged and we get, income from it, a little bit of income from those charging stations. It came as quite a surprise to us that we got a bill from the software company for $11,000 to maintain that software for 3 years, I think it is.
3 years maintenance or software as well as maintenance of the charging.
Right. So, it seems like an awful lot of money. We didn't make that much money on them. Our net revenue was, well, our profit, our net revenue was $600. We paid $470. So our profit on those machines was $133 for, then they're proposing $11,000. The other alternative is we don't enter into this contract. We don't have, we don't charge for them and we make them free. So it would be
That's a lot higher than. what I
than
was-
anybody expected, right,
I
right.
was getting like,
That electric stuff, electric cars, are all saving us money.
So basically, it would be, the electric usage based on last year, it would cost us $500 if the usage remained the same. And it would cost us $11,000 if we enter into the agreement.
so who's benefiting from this?
Probably ChargePoint, the software company.
The company that put it in the
Well,
charging
there's
station.
maintenance of
Yeah,
the,
nice,
The
right.
maintenance of the units also is.
would be our
but-
expense.
Right, right.
Unbelievable.
Seems a bit stiff. So that's, it's up to you guys. Do you want to know more, or you can always call and talk to Julia, but I kind
I've
of,
got to get more info on that.
yeah.
I got to talk.
That's just crazy to pay $11,000 for 4 charging stations back there. That's, in 3 years, it's gonna be double. I just don't understand the practicality of this at all.
Okay,
So if we don't enter into that contract,
They'll be free, so.
There goes your
Charge
courthouse, Woody, out the door. So we're paying for charging stations.
I mean,
And there are other charging stations that are free, so other places. We would pay the
is
electric
it the
bill.
fact it's that charging station, or is it the company that oversees the
It's the
billing
company, and
for them?
apparently we weren't the only municipality in Saratoga County that was taken by surprise like this. So,
Well, this was kind of slidden through us.
who's talking? Oh.
We're not paying $11,000.
That's-
If we wanna
that's what we're
enter into a
saying.
Contract, it's gonna cost us $11,000.
All right.
The board has to decide, do they wanna
Yep,
enter
right.
into this contract? Since those things aren't used that much, they don't generate a lot of
Right.
income. So in my view, it doesn't make a lot of sense
Yeah.
to pay $11,000 when we're not generating $12,000
If-
of income. But that's up for the board to
Right.
decide.
Right. I'm
So,
tending
and
towards
I
the
have
same
not
way.
reviewed the contract, I've
to
not
not-
seen the contract. The other reason these charging stations were purchased was there is also requirements from the state that the town is going to have to purchase electric vehicles. And money was provided to the town to install those, and the prior board decided that it was a good idea to install them to plan for the future. Now, we're saying, do we want to enter into a new contract to maintain those and to be able to bill people? And if the answer is no, then don't do it, and we'll have the stations, it'll be our expense to maintain them, and people can use them for free.
What did you say it costs for a charging station?
All of those total last year, our net revenue was $600. The electric usage was $470. So our net profit was $133.
What did it cost to install those?
Oh, to install, I have no idea.
Okay.
So it was fully grant covered, as mentioned, but the total cost to the contractor, which included, sidewalks, the wiring, the charging station, was at $180,000.
180,000?
But that was some of the infrastructure, not the charge.
Covered by a grant,
Themselves, covered by grant.
not paid for by the town.
Was that a nice Serta grant? That's the same people that are
Well,
putting
yes.
that street light there.
And then the next thing to discuss, parlays into it nicely, is that because we got that grant, and one of the things that we could do was the installation of the EV stations, and there were other things that we did, 6 different things: the benchmarking, unified solar permit, training of 2 code enforcement officers to complete the energy code enforcement training, installation of the EVs, replacing the town garage boiler and heating system with a wood boiler, whatever that means, conversion of all the town's municipal grounds and buildings to LED fixtures. Because we did those things, we are eligible for a $10,000 grant.
Use that to pay the
Huh?
contract.
We were awarded a $10,000 grant. So we'll have a resolution next week if the board, agrees, that to, basically allow me to send a letter accepting that money from NYSERDA.
And we're not aware of a $11,000 maintenance requirement.
Yeah, we weren't aware of the 11,000.
No,
maintenance
on this new one, I'm
Yeah.
saying we're gonna get 10, but we're
Yeah,
not aware of any.
Right. So, I mean, that,
So if we don't get that contract and one of the power stations over there fails, we're responsible, we must have it fixed.
I don't know about
Can we
that.
have it sit idle, hook up a generator and throw some gas in it also? My sarcasm.
That I don't know, if we can leave it.
You guys look-
So if we don't want to pay the $11,000 and earn a contract, we don't actually have to action anything, correct?
Right,
All right. I do not want it on next, on the
okay.
agenda.
So we just won't enter into the contract?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you need to action the letter?
The letter we will need to action to collect the. Last 3 things are just some quick updates. One thing, that for the past, 5, 6 years, We have been trying to work on a plan for drainage on Thimbleberry because there's a drainage problem. The HOA has basically refused to sign the easement. So although we've spent a lot of money on engineering and a lot of time, that project is essentially dead unless they change their mind.
What is that HOA again?
Ermine Lair, yep.
Isn't it in their best interest to
We believe it's in their best interest.
Earth to water?
We believe it's in their best interest, but there are things about the project that they don't like the way our engineer has engineered it.
We really don't have much choice on that.
No, our engineering engineered it, and that's
It
what,
stays flooded.
yeah, so I'm sure we'll hear from them again. Next is I spoke earlier about the Saratoga Water Services purchase update. Referendum is July 1st. We had a series of public information sessions. If anybody has any questions about anything, feel free to call my office, and we'll take the time. If you want to schedule a neighborhood meeting even, we'll get some people together to go talk about it, and please go vote. Last is an update on our waterfront park. We are having a survey done, delineating the borders along 8th Street, which our park backs up to homes on 8th Street. We're going to put a chain link fence. Our maintenance staff is going to do this. We are working with Slipid and Ballet Flowers and Designs, which is a local company here in Malta, to do some plantings along the shoreline. We're also going to put up a temporary split rail fence along the shore to discourage anybody
Along the shore?
along the shore, to discourage water. We don't want to block people from being able to see the water, but we don't want anybody actually going in the water at this point. We do have a drainage problem that seemed to come during the demolition. Evolution is supposed to go down there and clean out the dry wells and drain all the water, and hopefully that takes care of the problem. We need a little more fencing along the front so people don't actually drive into the park. There's still, basically that's it. We're trying to, the decision by the focus group that the former supervisor assembled and I reassembled after I, took office, is to just try to make it for now just a passive place. Put some picnic tables down there, some place where people can go enjoy the green space. For now, future plans, of course, what will involve more money, is to put some sort of pier or something out there. But we didn't want to kind of rush to make those decisions. We just wanted to hopefully make it a place where we can just have a nice little quiet, peaceful, at minimal cost at this point. I'd like to have a pier. We've talked about a pier. We've talked about an interpretive center. For now, our Parks and Rec director is proposing that we just put porta potties down there till we're ready to, spend some money. We'll apply for grants and things like that. So, any questions? Have you been down there? I mean, go down. It's looking like a park.
I sent out an email the other day with some film clips down in that spray pad.
Yep. And we have talked a lot about trying to find a splash pad. Not sure that's really the appropriate park. Shenandoah would be the best place for it, but there's no water there. Hopefully someday we'll actually get some water there. A Malta Community Park might be, but I don't know where there's room there. So, but yeah, you and I are on board. Splash pad, yeah. I think we need some sort of water feature here, so. Does anybody else up here have anything else?
I think he's worn us out.
Hey, it's those race fans. Anybody from the public have any last comments? Oh. You have to come to the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't hear you at home.
All right, Virginia Whitney Thimbleberry in Luther Forest. So this is just a thought on how to look at, a way of looking at costs. Because I don't know that much about EVs, but our son's girlfriend's family have two family cars. One is a regular car and one is an EV. And so the regular car, because he borrows both when he visits, the regular car costs him $45 to fill the tank. The EV they charge overnight at home, and it costs them $6, and it goes farther. So I'm not saying we have EV vehicles for the town as yet, but I'm just saying for that family, and they don't have both EV, because that's expensive right now, they save $40 every time she drives her car, right? So if you look at not the 11,000, because I think there's a bit of bait and switch there, but in terms of eventually deciding maybe at some point maintaining those as opposed to taking them out, if you have, let's say, 10 gas-fired, gas-propelled town vehicles, and over time you shift them to EVs, the amount of budget that you have for the gas might be able to be shifted to a maintenance contract, hopefully a better one, for the EV stations, because you save so much money on the gas allocation if you start, and that's just a balance. But that's one of the costs you have to look at in terms of shifting, because they're looking at maybe getting a second EV car because of how much money they would just save on the gas. So that's just what I meant, something to think about in terms of.
And we
11
actually have
We
talked about
actually,
replacing vehicles with EV.
Yeah,
Looked
and-
into buying EV, and then it got into the power stations. The situation was the cost of an EV, the upfront cost,
Yeah, there are subsidies. right.
astronomical.
Right, but there are subsidies, I think, right now, which especially at least for the current time, there are subsidies for EVs that municipalities, I would think.
That was actually with grants also. It just didn't make sense at the time. I don't know how it is now.
Yeah, there may be some more, and hopefully over the next, we'll see how it goes, but
I'll
hopefully
review
the subsidies
how the
will
market-
continue beyond the end of the year. But that might play into how you're
Yeah.
looking at this. So
Part
anyway,
of the
that's just a
problem is
thought.
buying EVs, the benefit is you get a tax credit, and we don't get a tax credit.
But also if you go manufacturing.
Right.
And you notice that it's going beyond Tesla.
Yeah.
They have a Tesla, which is just
Yeah.
thin. But if all these other car companies
Right.
are also developing EVs, you're gonna get competition.
Right. Mr. Lieberman?
Lawrence Lieberman, Luther Forest. I just want to say that the consent for the state police easement is a green light for the barracks to be built. And that flies in the face of 700 residents who don't want it there. And I think it's a big mistake to go that way.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Carl Gioni, Springfield Drive. I live in the Woodfield Estates, and which is 1 block north of Cedar Point.
Yes.
And we have the same issue of darkness driving into our neighborhood. Can I request to be put on that list for the light?
No promises there's going to be any light, but we can have a nice sort of look at it. One of the things was there's a pole that makes it convenient at Cedar Point, so they would have to look and see if there's actually a utility pole there to make it. That's why they're doing it for free.
There is. Years ago, we had a light in an island, and it was disconnected. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Could I say something about that streetlight? Years ago, I was talking to Arnoff, and he asked one of the streetlights on that circle area be taken down because his drivers were complaining about it. I'm not sure if that's the
On the Stonebreak roundabout?
same one, yeah.
No, this is south of the roundabout.
Well, before this old lady falls asleep, I turn that off. I'm going to have a little something to say anyway. So the issue that I wanted to address tonight was relative to the flying of the pride flag. This is in reply to Matt's statement a couple of weeks ago about the American flag representing all Americans, and therefore there was no necessity to fly another flag. In its symbolic form, certainly the flag is supposed to represent us all. Unfortunately, most Black, Latino, Chinese, Islamic, LGBT people, along with other marginalized groups, would argue that they don't get the same rights as most rich white Christian men do in America. Relative to LGBT people, on the federal level, there are no non-discrimination statutes relative to housing, employment, education, etc. So in most states, LGBT people can be fired from their jobs, kicked out of an apartment, not rented to, not accepted to go to any college or school, all for no reason other than the fact that they are LGBT. These same protections are also not in place for race, ethnicity, religion, etc. So yes, the flag is supposed to represent us all, but it actually fails to do any of that. So as an alternative to flying the flag at Town Hall, I would suggest that perhaps we could fly it at the community center, along Dunning Street, on Route 9. And the reason to show this support as a community is that because of lack of support in the US, I can give you some statistics that I looked up, which is 41% of LGBT youth have considered suicide from bullying. Trans people are 3 times more likely to be murdered than you are. LGBT people are assaulted at 7 times the rate of straight people. We are your friends, your people who live in town with you, your co-workers. We are only wanting the same acceptance and rights that any American deserves. I request a resolution be put up for vote tonight to have a flag be put up before Pride Month is over with. This way, our community can show its support, especially to LGBT youth, and hopefully making them feel a bit more accepted in our community. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, again, John Perot from Luther Forest. Just a couple things that I picked up while we were talking tonight, while you folks were talking tonight. One thing is we can't change something that we've already done. That's what governments are for, right? So when we put a government in place, whether it's the president, senator, whoever, if we don't like something that was set forth by previous administrations, we vote to change it. So we can change that. I just wanted to bring that up. Second, you can't get emails, responses, callbacks from the state police.
Yeah.
My daughter has ADHD. I have contacted civil rights. I have contacted the director of schools for New York State. I've contacted the commissioner. You know why? Because I kept going at it. And for a supervisor of this town to say, you can't get people to respond to you, something's wrong. Because you know what? If that's the case, everything that's going on in this town is just gonna blow right by you because no one's respecting you, I guess, is the problem. But something's gotta be done about that. I've never heard of anything like that before, where state officials don't contact supervisors. That's just crazy. The other thing is,
They didn't write back to you.
yeah, well, you know what? Then that's a problem, folks.
Or Kerry Warner.
But that's a problem. Don't you see that? I mean, doesn't
I got an email back
good
from the troopers.
Okay, but what? But you know, I'm
Plymouth
not telling
Tower.
you who should be calling you back or who you should be getting a hold of because I haven't been involved in that piece. But I can tell you this: I know that if I was involved in that piece, I'd be getting phone calls from somebody. I would be getting phone calls from somebody. I would find out who to call. Okay? The other thing is exactly what I said here for the folks that are here. You had almost 100 people here. Now you got 30. As soon as everybody's agenda was over, they were gone. So those folks that left didn't see what's going on now, didn't hear about what's going on now, whether it's light bulb or, you know, whatever with the EVs. They have no idea what's going on right now, you know? And that was my point when I spoke with everybody earlier tonight. You know, we're all complaining about stuff, but nobody's, we all walk out, 100 people out of this place. And for you to say you're not getting results, that's a shame on you and a shame on you. And for you to say that we can't do something that was done in the past, change it, that's incorrect. That's why we vote for you folks. And if you folks were voted out and we voted other people in, some of the things that you put in place, we would, as folks in this town, have the right to change. So, that's it. Hopefully, we can take some of this to heart.
Thank you. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn before somebody else decides to.
So moved.
A second. Can I get a second?
Second. Matt, second.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Oh,
Matt second.
yeah, Matt
Yes.
seconded. Craig and Matt. We adjourn.